Benjamin Hayes stood outside the grand ballroom of the Riverside Hotel, his jaw clenched so tight his teeth hurt. Through the glass doors he could see the glittering Christmas gala in full swing. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above well-dressed guests, and a string quartet played soft holiday music. Everything looked perfect. Everything looked like a lie. "I cannot believe Rachel did this to me," he muttered, running a hand through his dark hair. At 36 years old, Benjamin had built a technology empire worth billions, but right now he felt like a fool. His younger sister had begged him to attend this charity event. She'd said it was important, that the cause needed his support, that he'd been hiding away for too long. What she hadn't mentioned was that she'd arranged a blind date. A blind date. Like he was some desperate teenager who couldn't manage his own life. Benjamin had only discovered the truth 20 minutes ago when he'd arrived early and overheard two event coordinators gossiping near the coat check. "Can you believe Rachel Hayes actually paid someone to go on a date with her brother?" one had whispered. "I mean, I know he's loaded, but that's just sad." The girl needed the money though. Something about a community center closing down. The words had hit him like ice water. But his own sister had paid someone to pretend to be interested in him. The humiliation burned through his chest, mixing with the old familiar grief that never quite went away. 3 years. It had been 3 years since Caroline died, and apparently his family thought he needed this kind of intervention. He should leave. He should walk away right now, get in his car, and drive back to his estate where his 2 children were spending the evening with their grandmother. Katie and Lucas didn't need to see their father make a fool of himself. They'd been through enough. But something held him in place. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the fact that whoever this woman was, she'd apparently needed money badly enough to agree to this ridiculous scheme. Or maybe, deep down, he was just tired of being alone. Benjamin pushed through the doors and entered the ballroom. The warm air smelled like pine and cinnamon. A massive Christmas tree stood in the corner, decorated with gold and silver ornaments. Wait staff circulated with trays of champagne and appetizers. He scanned the crowd, looking for Rachel's familiar face, but instead his eyes landed on someone else entirely. She stood near the dessert table, partially hidden behind a towering display of chocolate fountains and petit fours. A beautiful African-American woman in a simple red dress that somehow stood out among all the designer gowns around her. She was looking down at her phone, her expression a mix of anxiety and resignation. Even from across the room, Benjamin could see the tension in her shoulders. That had to be her. His paid date. He started walking before he could talk himself out of it. As he got closer, he noticed more details. Her hair was styled in natural curls that framed her face. She wore minimal jewelry, just small gold earrings. The red dress was modest but fit her well, hitting just below her knees. She looked beautiful and completely out of place, like she'd rather be anywhere else in the world. "Are you Tasha Reynolds?" he asked, stopping a few feet away. She looked up, startled, and her brown eyes went wide. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Benjamin found himself caught by her gaze, by the intelligence and wariness he saw there. "Yes," she said finally, her voice soft but steady. "You must be Benjamin Hayes." "I am." He crossed his arms, trying to keep his tone neutral. "Did my sister explain what this evening was supposed to be?" Tasha's jaw tightened. "She said you were looking for someone to attend a charity gala with you. That you'd lost your wife and weren't comfortable going to social events alone yet." She paused, meeting his eyes directly. "She also said you'd be making a substantial donation to organizations that help children in need, and that anyone who accompanied you might be able to discuss funding for their own programs." So that was the angle Rachel had used. Benjamin felt a fresh wave of anger at his sister, but he had to admit it was clever. Tasha hadn't technically been paid for a date. She'd been offered a business opportunity that happened to involve accompanying him to an event. So, the whole thing was manipulative and wrong. "I didn't know about any of this until 30 minutes ago," Benjamin said quietly. "I overheard some staff members talking. Rachel told me this was just a charity event. She didn't mention setting up a date or making promises about donations on my behalf." The color drained from Tasha's face. "Oh my God." She set her phone down on the dessert table with a shaky hand. "I'm so sorry. I should have known this was too good to be true. I'll just go." She started to walk past him, but Benjamin found himself reaching out, not quite touching her arm but blocking her path. "Wait." Tasha stopped, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "Mr. Hayes, I'm not that kind of person. I don't do things like this. But my community center is about to close its doors, and 23 kids are going to lose the only safe space they have. Your sister said you wanted to help organizations like mine, and I thought." She trailed off, shaking her head. I thought maybe this was an answer to prayer. I'm sorry. This is mortifying. Benjamin studied her face. He'd built his fortune on reading people, on knowing when someone was lying and when they were telling the truth. Every instinct told him that Tasha Reynolds was genuine. She wasn't some gold digger or opportunist. She was exactly what she appeared to be, a woman trying to help kids and willing to endure an uncomfortable evening to do it. The question now was what he was going to do about it. Have you eaten dinner? He asked. Tasha blinked at him, confused. What? Dinner. Have you eaten? Benjamin gestured toward the dining area where tables were being set with white linens and gleaming silverware. They're about to serve the meal. The food at these events is usually excellent, and it would be a shame to waste it. Plus, I'd like to hear more about your community center. Mr. Hayes, you don't have to. Benjamin, he interrupted. And you're right, I don't have to. But here's the situation as I see it. My sister manipulated both of us. You need funding for your program. I have money and a genuine interest in helping children, especially since I have two of my own. We're both already here, dressed up, and the alternative is going home and admitting that Rachel won this round. He paused. So what do you say? Will you have dinner with me? No pretense, no fake date. Just two people having a conversation about how to help some kids. Tasha looked at him for a long moment. He could see her weighing the offer, considering whether to trust him. Finally, slowly she nodded. Okay, she said. Thank you. I'd like that. Something in Benjamin's chest loosened slightly. Good. Let's find our table before Rachel spots us and tries to make this even more awkward than it already is. As they walked together through the ballroom, Benjamin caught sight of his sister near the bar. Rachel's eyes went wide when she saw him with Tasha, and a pleased smile spread across her face. Benjamin shot her a look that promised a serious conversation later, but Rachel just raised her champagne glass in a mock toast. This was going to be an interesting evening. Have you ever been in a situation where pride almost made you walk away from something beautiful? Where your fear of being hurt kept you from accepting help or love? Benjamin was about to learn that sometimes the best things in life come from the moments that humble us the most. But would his wounded heart be ready to accept what was being offered? Drop a comment below and tell me what you think Benjamin should do. And if you're enjoying this story, please subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. The table Rachel had reserved was near the front of the ballroom, which of course it was. His sister had planned this entire evening to maximum effect. Benjamin pulled out a chair for Tasha, noting how she hesitated before sitting. She wasn't used to this world, that much was obvious. Good. He was tired of people who took luxury for granted. So, Tasha said once they were both seated, smoothing her red dress over her knees. Your sister seems very invested in your social life. Benjamin laughed, though there wasn't much humor in it. That's putting it mildly. Rachel has been on a mission to get me back into the world, as she calls it, ever since Caroline died. She means well, but her execution leaves something to be desired. Caroline was your wife? Yes. The word came out rougher than he intended. Benjamin cleared his throat. She had an aneurysm. 1 minute she was laughing at breakfast, planning Katie's 6th birthday party. The next. He trailed off, not needing to finish. The pain of that day was still vivid, still sharp. Tasha reached across the table and briefly touched his hand. The gesture was simple, but it held genuine compassion. I'm so sorry. That must have been devastating for you and your children. Katie was 5. Lucas was 3. They barely remember her now, and that kills me. Benjamin picked up his water glass just to have something to do with his hands. But they're good kids. Strong. They've adapted better than I have, honestly. Before Tasha could respond, a waiter appeared with the first course. A delicate winter salad with candied pecans and cranberries. Benjamin watched as Tasha thanked the server with genuine warmth, noticed how her eyes lit up at the food. When was the last time she'd eaten at a place like this? When was the last time she'd eaten well at all? Tell me about your community center, Benjamin said, deciding to shift the conversation to safer ground. Where is it located? Tasha's entire demeanor changed. She sat up straighter and passion filled her voice. It's in the Riverside district, about 3 miles from here. We serve kids ages 5 to 17, mostly from foster care or low-income families. We offer after-school programs, tutoring, hot meals, and a safe space where they can just be kids. She paused, taking a small bite of salad. We've been operating for 6 years on donations and grants, but our biggest donor passed away last month. His family isn't interested in continuing his charitable work, so we lost about 60% of our funding. Our lease is up in January and we can't afford to renew it. How many staff members do you have? 4 paid staff including me. We also have about a dozen volunteers who come regularly. Tasha's expression grew more animated as she spoke. We have a computer lab where kids can do homework and learn coding. There's a small gym where we play basketball and volleyball. We have a kitchen where we teach cooking classes. But the most important thing we offer is consistency. These kids know that every day after school, they have somewhere to go where adults actually care about them. Benjamin found himself leaning forward, genuinely interested. What's your role there? I'm the director and lead social worker. I coordinate programs, work with families, and handle the administrative side of things. Which I'm terrible at, by the way. She smiled for the first time since they'd sat down, and it transformed her face. I'm much better with kids than spreadsheets. How did you get involved in this work? The smile faded slightly. Tasha looked down at her plate, pushing a cranberry around with her fork. I grew up in foster care. Had 7 different placements between ages 6 and 18. Some were okay, some were. She didn't finish the sentence. There was one place, a community center kind of like mine, where I spent my afternoons. The woman who ran it, Miss Gloria, she saw me. Really saw me. She made me feel like I mattered, like I had potential. When I aged out of the system, she helped me apply to college. Helped me get scholarships. I wanted to be that person for other kids. Benjamin felt something shift in his chest. He'd been so focused on his own pain, his own loss, that he'd forgotten there were people out there dealing with struggles he couldn't imagine. Tasha had grown up without parents, without a real home, and instead of being bitter, she dedicated her life to helping others avoid the same pain. That's remarkable, he said quietly. It's necessary, Tasha corrected. These kids deserve advocates. They deserve people who show up. The main course arrived. Herb-crusted salmon with roasted vegetables. As they ate, they continued talking. Benjamin found himself sharing more than he'd planned about his life. About how his company developed software for hospitals and medical facilities. About how he'd been so consumed by work after Caroline died that he'd almost missed Katie's school play. About how Lucas still sometimes called for his mama in the middle of the night. Tasha listened without judgment, without offering empty platitudes. She just listened, and somehow that was exactly what he needed. They were halfway through dessert, a spectacular chocolate torte, when Rachel finally made her appearance. She swooped down on their table like a well-dressed tornado, her green cocktail dress shimmering under the lights. Benjamin. Tasha. Are you two having a wonderful time? Rachel's smile was so bright it could have powered the chandelier above them. Benjamin set down his fork with deliberate care. Rachel, we need to talk. Privately. Oh, don't be like that. His sister waved a dismissive hand. I did you both a favor. Look at you, actually having a conversation with someone who isn't a business associate or family member. When was the last time you went on a date? This isn't a date, Benjamin said, his voice low. This is you manipulating people for your own entertainment. I'm not entertaining myself. I'm helping my brother remember how to live. Rachel turned to Tasha. Don't you think he's been hiding away long enough? Tasha looked extremely uncomfortable. I think that's between you and your brother, ma'am. See? She has sense. Benjamin, you need this. You need to remember that there are good people in the world. That not everyone is going to leave you. Rachel's voice softened. Caroline wouldn't want you to stop living. You know that. The mention of his late wife felt like a slap. Benjamin stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. You don't get to use Caroline to justify your actions. What you did was wrong, Rachel. You made promises about my money without asking me. You manipulated someone who needed help. You turned what should have been a straightforward business conversation into this awkward charade. Rachel's confident expression finally cracked. I'm sorry. I just wanted to help. Then next time try asking me first. Benjamin pulled out his wallet and extracted a business card. He handed it to Tasha, who was looking between the siblings with wide eyes. This has my direct line. Call me Monday morning. We'll discuss funding for your community center. A real discussion with no games or pretense. Tasha took the card with trembling fingers. Benjamin, you don't have to do that just because your sister created this situation. I know I don't have to. I want to. He meant it. Even without the disastrous circumstances that brought them together, he would want to help the kind of program Tasha was running. Those kids need what you're providing. Let me help make sure they get it. Tasha stood as well, clutching the business card. Thank you. Really. I don't know what to say. Say you'll call. Benjamin glanced at Rachel. And you and I will be having a much longer conversation about boundaries. His sister had the grace to look ashamed. I really am sorry. To both of you. Tasha gathered her small purse from the table. I should go. Thank you for dinner, Benjamin. It was lovely, even though the circumstances were strange. Wait. Benjamin didn't know what made him say it. Maybe it was the way she'd listened to him talk about Caroline without trying to fix his pain. Maybe it was the passion in her voice when she described her work. Or maybe it was just that for the first time in 3 years, he'd spent an evening with someone and hadn't felt entirely alone. Would you be willing to meet the kids? Katie and Lucas. They're struggling with Christmas coming up. Their first one without Caroline was hard, but they were younger then. This year they're more aware of what's missing. I think it might help them to meet someone who understands what it's like to hurt but still finds reasons to hope. Tasha studied his face for a long moment. Benjamin held his breath, waiting. He was asking a lot, he knew that. But something told him this woman might be exactly what his children needed. Yes, Tasha said finally. I'd love to meet them. Relief flooded through Benjamin. Tomorrow afternoon? I can send a car for you. I have my own car, but thank you. Just text me the address and time. She smiled, that same transformation he'd seen earlier. I'll bring cookies. After Tasha left, Benjamin turned back to Rachel. His sister was watching him with an expression he couldn't quite read. That went better than I expected, Rachel said carefully. You got lucky. Benjamin shook his head. But Rachel, listen to me. I appreciate that you care. I do. But I need you to trust that I'm handling my life the best way I know how. I'm not ready for dating. I might never be ready. And that has to be okay. What if you're wrong? Rachel asked softly. What if you're ready and just too scared to admit it? Benjamin didn't have an answer to that. He left the gala shortly after, driving home through streets decorated with Christmas lights. As he pulled into his circular driveway, he could see the house lit up, warm and inviting from the outside. But inside, he knew, were two small children who still felt the cold absence of their mother every single day. Maybe Rachel was right. Maybe he was hiding. But when you'd lost everything once, could anyone blame you for not wanting to risk that kind of pain again? His phone buzzed with a text. Unknown number. This is Tasha. Thank you again for tonight. I meant what I said about the cookies tomorrow. What kind do your kids like? Benjamin smiled despite himself. Lucas likes chocolate chip. Katie is pickier, she prefers sugar cookies with frosting. Perfect. See you tomorrow at 2? See you then. As he walked into his house, where his mother was reading bedtime stories to his children, Benjamin realized something had shifted tonight. He'd gone to that gala angry and ready to shut the world out. He was coming home with something unexpected. Not romance, not yet. But maybe the beginning of hope. And that was more than he'd had in a very long time. Sunday afternoon arrived with clear skies and unseasonably warm weather for mid-December. Benjamin spent the morning preparing his children for meeting Tasha, though he wasn't entirely sure how to explain who she was. Eventually he settled on the truth. Remember how Aunt Rachel is always trying to get Daddy to make new friends? He said over breakfast, watching Katie push scrambled eggs around her plate while Lucas built a tower with his toast. She says you're lonely, Katie said matter-of-factly. At 8 years old, his daughter had a way of cutting straight to the heart of things. She had her mother's directness, her mother's dark curls, her mother's ability to see right through him. Well, I met someone at the party last night. A woman named Tasha who runs a community center for kids. She's coming over this afternoon to visit, and I thought maybe you two could show her your rooms and tell her about school. Lucas looked up, syrup smeared across his cheek. Is she going to be your girlfriend? No, buddy. She's just a friend. Someone Daddy is going to help with her work. Okay. Lucas went back to his toast tower, but Katie was watching Benjamin with her two knowing eyes. It's okay if you want to have a girlfriend, Dad, she said quietly. Mom wouldn't be mad. The words punched the air from Benjamin's lungs. He knelt beside Katie's chair, taking her small hand in his. Hey, where did that come from? Grandma said Mom would want you to be happy. That she'd want us all to be happy even without her. Benjamin pulled his daughter into a hug, blinking back the sudden burning in his eyes. Your grandma is right. But I'm okay, sweetheart. We all are. We're figuring things out together, aren't we? Katie hugged him back tightly. Yeah, we are. At exactly 2 o'clock, the doorbell rang. Benjamin had been watching from the study window as a modest blue sedan pulled up the long driveway. He'd given Tasha the gate code that morning. Now she stood on his front porch, holding a large container that presumably held the promised cookies. Benjamin opened the door and stopped short. In the bright afternoon sunlight, Tasha looked different than she had under the gala's chandeliers. She wore jeans and a bright blue sweater that brought out the warmth in her dark skin. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she had a dusting of flour on one sleeve. She looked real and approachable and nothing like the uncomfortable woman from last night. "Hi," she said, offering a genuine smile. "I hope I'm not too early." "Perfect timing. Come in." Benjamin stepped aside, gesturing her into the grand foyer. He tried to see his home through her eyes. The marble floors, the sweeping staircase, the chandelier that cost more than most people made in a year. Did it seem excessive? Probably. But this house had been Caroline's dream, and he couldn't bring himself to leave it. "Wow," Tasha said softly, looking around. "This is beautiful." "It's too big," Benjamin admitted. "But the kids have good memories here, so we stay." "That makes sense. Home isn't about size. It's about the people in it." She held up the container. "Should I put these in the kitchen?" "Actually, let's introduce you to the reason we're all here." Benjamin called up the staircase. "Katie? Lucas? Our guest is here." There was a moment of silence, then the thunder of small feet on hardwood floors. Lucas appeared first, barreling down the stairs with his usual 6-year-old energy. Katie followed more slowly, hanging back when she reached the bottom step. "You must be Lucas," Tasha said, crouching down to his level. "Your dad told me you're a big fan of chocolate chip cookies." Lucas nodded enthusiastically. "They're the best cookies." "I agree completely. I made some this morning. Want to try one?" "Yes, please." Tasha opened the container, revealing 2 different types of cookies: rustic chocolate chip and beautifully decorated sugar cookies with red and green frosting. Lucas grabbed a chocolate chip cookie and took an enormous bite, getting crumbs all over his green shirt. "What do you say?" Benjamin prompted. "Thank you," Lucas managed around his mouthful. Tasha laughed, a warm sound that seemed to fill the foyer. Then she turned her attention to Katie, who was still standing on the bottom step. "And you must be Katie. I heard you like sugar cookies with frosting. I made some with extra decorations because I figured any girl named Katie would have excellent taste." Katie stepped forward slowly, eyeing Tasha with careful assessment. "They're pretty. Thank you. Baking is one of my favorite things to do when I'm stressed. I made about 4 dozen cookies last night after the party, which is way too many for one person." Tasha held out the container. "Would you like to pick one?" Katie selected a cookie decorated to look like a snowflake, turning it over in her hands to examine the details. "You're really good at this." "Years of practice. Plus, I had great teachers at the community center where I grew up. Miss Gloria taught me that baking is like giving people a hug they can eat." That got a small smile from Katie. She took a bite of the cookie and her eyes widened. "It's really good." "I'm glad. Your dad said you're picky, so I was a little nervous." The fact that Tasha admitted to being nervous seemed to break through Katie's reserve. "Do you want to see our house? We have a really big backyard." "I would love that." What followed was the most relaxed afternoon Benjamin had experienced in years. Tasha had a natural ease with children that came from genuine interest rather than forced enthusiasm. She asked Lucas about his Lego creations and actually listened to his long, rambling explanations. She admired Katie's rock collection and wanted to know the story behind each stone. She played video games with them in the entertainment room and didn't fake her way through it. She was actually pretty good. At one point, while the kids were arguing over what movie to watch, Benjamin found himself alone with Tasha in the kitchen. She was washing her hands at the sink, and he noticed the careful way she dried them on the towel, the way she refolded it perfectly before setting it back on the counter. Small gestures that spoke of someone who didn't take things for granted. "They're wonderful kids," Tasha said. "You've done an amazing job with them." "Some days I'm not sure about that. Katie is so serious all the time. She tries to take care of everyone like she thinks she has to be the mom now." Benjamin leaned against the counter, watching his children through the doorway as they finally agreed on a Christmas movie. "And Lucas is so young. He has memories of Caroline, but they're fading. Sometimes he asks me what her voice sounded like, and I have to play old videos so he can remember. That must be incredibly hard." "It is. But harder than that is knowing I can't fix it. I can't bring her back. I can't make the pain go away. All I can do is show up every day and hope that's enough." Tasha turned to face him fully. "Benjamin, showing up is everything. Do you know how many kids in foster care have parents who don't show up? Who leave them wondering if anyone in the world actually cares? You show up. You're present. You're trying. That's not just enough. That's extraordinary." Something about the way she said it, with such conviction, made Benjamin believe her. For the first time in months, he felt like maybe he wasn't failing as badly as he feared. They joined the kids for the movie, all 4 of them squeezing onto the massive sectional sofa in the media room. At some point during the film, Lucas climbed into Tasha's lap as naturally as if he'd known her for years. She didn't stiffen or seem uncomfortable. She just wrapped an arm around him and kept watching the movie. On her other side, Katie gradually inched closer until her shoulder was touching Tasha's. Benjamin watched this happen with something like wonder. His children, who'd been withdrawn and sad for so long, were gravitating toward this woman they'd just met. It was like they recognized something in her, some quality that made them feel safe. When the movie ended, Katie asked if Tasha could stay for dinner. "Oh, I don't want to impose," Tasha said, but Benjamin could see she was pleased by the invitation. "You're not imposing. We're ordering pizza anyway. It's Sunday tradition." Benjamin pulled out his phone. "What do you like on your pizza?" "Anything except anchovies." "Dad, can we do that thing where we make a pizza fort?" Lucas bounced on his toes. "Please?" Benjamin glanced at Tasha. "Pizza fort is a ridiculous tradition where we order way too much pizza and then build a fort out of the boxes after we eat. It's messy and wasteful and the kids love it." "That sounds amazing," Tasha said with complete sincerity. "I'm in." 2 hours later, Benjamin's formal dining room was covered in empty pizza boxes arranged into a surprisingly elaborate fort structure. Tasha had turned out to be surprisingly good at structural engineering, creating archways and towers that actually stayed standing. The kids were inside the fort, reading comics by flashlight, while Benjamin and Tasha cleaned up the worst of the mess. "This was really special," Tasha said quietly. "Thank you for letting me be part of it. Thank you for coming. I know this is probably way outside your normal Sunday plans. My normal Sunday plans involve laundry and meal prep for the week. This was much better." She paused, folding a napkin carefully. "Your kids are dealing with their grief in really healthy ways, you know. They're not shutting down. They're still open to joy. That's because of you." "Or maybe it's because of you," Benjamin countered. "They haven't laughed like this in months. Then maybe we make a good team." The words hung in the air between them. Benjamin knew he should say something, but he wasn't sure what. Was Tasha implying she wanted to spend more time with them? Did he want her to? The answer was yes, surprisingly. He did. But wanting something and being ready for it were different things. His phone buzzed. A message from Rachel. "How did it go with Tasha? Did the kids like her?" Benjamin typed back quickly. "They loved her. We all did. Thank you for pushing me even though your methods were questionable." Rachel's response was immediate. "I knew it. Merry Christmas, big brother. Sometimes the best gifts come in unexpected packages." Looking at Tasha, who was now crawling into the pizza fort to read comics with his children, Benjamin had to agree. Maybe Rachel had been meddling. Maybe the whole setup had been manipulative and wrong. But the result was this. His children were happy. He was happy. And for the first time since Caroline died, the future felt like something other than just endless days of getting through. It felt like possibility. Monday morning came too quickly. Benjamin had barely slept, his mind replaying the previous day. He kept seeing Tasha's smile as she'd left his house around 8 o'clock, promising to call him about the community center funding. The kids had hugged her goodbye like she was an old friend rather than someone they'd just met. Even now, sitting in his home office with coffee growing cold on his desk, he could hear Katie and Lucas talking about her at breakfast. "Can Tasha come back today?" Lucas had asked between bites of cereal. "She has her own job, buddy. Her own life. But she's fun. And she doesn't talk to us like we're babies." Katie had been quieter, but Benjamin had caught her looking at the empty cookie container on the counter with a thoughtful expression. His daughter was thinking something, working through something in that serious mind of hers. He'd learned to give her space when she got like that. His office phone rang at exactly 9 o'clock. Benjamin's assistant, Patricia, had strict instructions to hold all calls until 10, which meant this had to be important. "Benjamin Hayes," he answered. "Hi, it's Tasha. Tasha Reynolds. From the gala and yesterday." She sounded nervous, speaking quickly. "I'm calling about the community center funding like you asked me to. Is this still a good time?" "It's a perfect time." Benjamin closed his laptop, giving her his full attention. "Tell me exactly what you need." For the next hour they talked through the details. Tasha had come prepared with budget spreadsheets, program descriptions, and testimonials from families they'd helped. She was thorough and professional, clearly passionate about her work but able to back up that passion with solid data. "Our current lease is month to month now, which means we could be given notice at any time," Tasha explained. "The landlord wants to sell the building, and he's made it clear we're not the kind of tenants he wants long-term. Too much noise, too much activity, not enough profit for him. We need about $40,000 to maintain operations through the end of next year. That covers rent, utilities, insurance, supplies, and minimal salary for our 4 staff members. 40,000. Benjamin wrote the number down, though he didn't need to. It was nothing. He'd spent more than that on a painting last month. But to Tasha, to those kids she served, it was everything. What about long-term sustainability? You can't operate year to year, always wondering if the funding will come through. I know. But right now, I'm just trying to make it to next year. Tasha's voice caught slightly. These kids need consistency. They need to know that we'll be there. And I can't promise them that, which breaks my heart every single day. Benjamin made a decision. It was impulsive, possibly foolish, but it felt right. What if you didn't have to worry about rent at all? I'm sorry, what? What if I bought the building? Made you and your staff a lease agreement that's so favorable you never have to stress about it again? Even as he said it, Benjamin was already thinking through the logistics. He'd have Patricia reach out to the landlord today, make an offer that couldn't be refused. The building was probably worth $200,000 at most. Pocket change. Would that help? There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then, in a voice thick with tears, Tasha said, "Benjamin, I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking. I'm offering. I have the resources, you have the need, and those kids deserve better than to lose their safe space because some landlord wants to make a profit." Benjamin leaned back in his chair. Besides, it's a good investment. Property values in the Riverside district are climbing. In 5 years, that building will be worth double. You don't have to justify it with business logic. I know you're doing this to be kind. Tasha took a shaky breath. Thank you. God, thank you so much. You have no idea what this means. I think I do. I saw your face when you talked about those kids. I know what it's like to want to protect the people you love and feel helpless to do it. Benjamin paused. Accept the help, Tasha. Let me do this. Okay. Yes. Thank you. I accept with so much gratitude. They talked through a few more details before ending the call. Benjamin immediately contacted Patricia and set the wheels in motion. By lunchtime, they'd made contact with the landlord. By 3 o'clock, they had a preliminary agreement. The building would be Benjamin's by the end of the week, and Tasha's community center would have a new lease at half the current rent for the next 10 years, with an option to buy the building themselves at a fixed price if they wanted to. Benjamin felt good. Better than good. He felt useful in a way that went beyond moving money around on spreadsheets. His cell phone buzzed. A text from Tasha. I told the kids at the center about the building. They want to send you thank you cards. Is it okay if I give them your address? Of course. Also, Katie texted me from your phone yesterday. She asked if I could teach her how to make those sugar cookies. I said yes, but I wanted to check with you first. Is it okay if I come over sometime this week? Benjamin smiled at his daughter's resourcefulness. Katie had clearly memorized Tasha's number when he wasn't paying attention. Friday afternoon? The kids get out of school at 3. Perfect. I'll bring supplies. Friday couldn't come fast enough. The kids counted down the days, with Lucas creating a paper chain to mark off each passing day until Tasha's visit. Katie cleaned her room without being asked, organized the kitchen utensils, and even asked Benjamin if they should buy flowers for the table. It's just a baking lesson, Benjamin said, amused. I want her to want to come back, Katie replied seriously. On Friday, Benjamin left work early and made it home by 2:30. He found himself straightening pillows on the sofa, checking that there were fresh hand towels in the downstairs bathroom, making sure the kitchen was spotless. He felt like a teenager preparing for prom, which was absurd. This was just a friend coming over to bake with his daughter. Nothing more. Except it felt like more. It had felt like more since Sunday when Tasha had sat with them through that movie, natural and easy as breathing. Tasha arrived promptly at 3:30, her blue sedan pulling up just as the school bus dropped Katie and Lucas at the end of the driveway. The kids ran to greet her, both talking at once about their week at school. Tasha listened to every word, genuinely interested, asking follow-up questions and laughing at Lucas's story about a frog that got loose in the science classroom. She brought grocery bags full of baking supplies: flour, sugar, butter, eggs, vanilla extract, food coloring, frosting tips, and about a dozen different cookie cutters in various Christmas shapes. I might have gone overboard, she admitted as Benjamin helped carry everything inside. But I wanted Katie to have options. They set up in the kitchen, spreading everything out on the massive marble island. Tasha had brought aprons for everyone, including a ridiculous one for Benjamin that said, "Grill Sergeant," with a cartoon burger wearing a military hat. I grabbed it from the center's costume closet, Tasha said, grinning. Seemed appropriate. I look ridiculous. You look perfect. For the next 2 hours, his kitchen became a place of laughter and flour clouds and food coloring stains. Tasha walked Katie through each step patiently, never taking over but offering guidance when needed. She showed her how to measure ingredients precisely, how to tell when dough was the right consistency, how to roll it out evenly. Katie absorbed every word, her serious face alight with concentration and joy. Lucas tried to help but mostly just ate raw cookie dough and made a mess, which Tasha handled with amused patience. Benjamin attempted to cut out cookie shapes and discovered he had no talent for it whatsoever. His cookies came out lopsided and strange, which made everyone laugh. These look like they were cut by someone with their eyes closed, Katie said, giggling. Hey, abstract art is valid, Benjamin protested, holding up a cookie that was supposed to be a Christmas tree but looked more like a blob with a point. Sure, Dad. Abstract. While the cookies baked, filling the house with the smell of vanilla and butter, Tasha told them stories about the kids at her center. About the girl who'd been failing math but was now getting B's after their tutoring program. About the boy who'd been so shy he wouldn't speak to anyone but now performed in their talent shows. About the teenager who'd gotten accepted to college with a full scholarship, the first person in her family to go. They're all success stories because someone believed in them, Tasha said. That's all any kid needs, really. Someone to believe. You believe, Katie said quietly. That's why they succeed. Tasha looked at Katie with such tenderness that Benjamin felt his chest tighten. You're very wise, Katie Hayes. I get it from my mom. Dad says she was the smartest person he ever knew. I bet she was. And I bet she'd be very proud of the young woman you're becoming. Katie blinked rapidly, fighting tears. Then she did something that made Benjamin's breath catch. She walked around the island and hugged Tasha, holding on tight. Tasha hugged her back without hesitation, one hand stroking Katie's dark curls. It's okay to miss her, Tasha whispered. Missing someone means they mattered. That's beautiful, not sad. But it hurts. I know, sweetheart. I know it does. Benjamin had to turn away, pretending to check on the cookies through the oven window so his children wouldn't see the tears in his eyes. When had he last talked to Katie about her grief? When had he last asked her how she was really feeling instead of just assuming she was coping? He'd been so focused on keeping everything together, on being strong for them, that he'd forgotten they might need permission to fall apart sometimes. The timer dinged. Tasha released Katie gently and opened the oven, pulling out perfectly golden cookies. They set them on cooling racks and immediately started on the next batch, this time with Lucas's enthusiastic but chaotic help. By the time they finished, they had about 6 dozen cookies in various shapes and states of decoration. Some were works of art, carefully iced by Katie with steady hands. Others were disasters, covered in too much frosting and random sprinkles by Lucas. Benjamin's contributions were still abstract at best. These are going to be our Christmas cookies, Katie announced. We'll give them to Grandma and Aunt Rachel and our neighbors. And we'll save the prettiest ones for Tasha, Lucas added. Because she taught us. Tasha looked genuinely touched. That's very sweet. But I think you should keep the pretty ones for yourselves. I'll take the interesting ones your dad made. Hey, Benjamin protested, but he was smiling. They had dinner together again, this time actual home-cooked food since Benjamin's mother had dropped off a casserole earlier that week. As they ate around the kitchen table, surrounded by cooling cookies and the lingering smell of sugar and butter, Benjamin realized something. This felt like a family. Not a replacement for what they'd lost, but something new. Something healing. After dinner, as Tasha was gathering her things to leave, Katie grabbed her hand. Can you come to my school concert next week? It's next Friday at 6. I'm singing a solo. Tasha glanced at Benjamin, clearly not wanting to overstep. He nodded encouragingly. We'd love to have you there. Fair warning though. Elementary school concerts are long and mostly terrible. But Katie's solo is the best part. I'd be honored, Tasha said. I'll be there. She left with a container of cookies and promises to see them again soon. After Benjamin got the kids ready for bed, he found Katie sitting on her bedroom floor, looking at a photo album. Pictures of Caroline, smiling and alive and beautiful. Hey, sweetheart. Benjamin sat down beside her. What are you thinking about? Mom would like Tasha, Katie said. They're different, but I think they'd be friends. I think so too. Is it okay that I like her? That I want her to come back? Benjamin put his arm around his daughter. It's more than okay. It's wonderful. Your mom would want you to have good people in your life. She'd want all of us to be happy. Even you. Even me. Katie leaned against him. Good. Because I think Tasha makes you smile again. Like you used to before Mom got sick. Benjamin didn't know what to say to that. Was it true? Had he been walking around with grief stamped on his face for so long that his 8-year-old daughter noticed when it finally lifted? Probably. Kids saw everything. Get some sleep, he said instead, kissing the top of her head. Big day tomorrow. We're getting our Christmas tree, remember? Can we invite Tasha to help decorate it? Benjamin laughed. We'll see. But later that night, alone in his room, Benjamin sent Tasha a text. The kids want to know if you'd like to help us decorate our Christmas tree on Sunday. No pressure, but you're very welcome to join us. Her response came 5 minutes later. I'd love to. What time? 2 o'clock. Fair warning, our tree is enormous and the kids have very specific decorating rules. Sounds perfect. Benjamin set his phone down and looked at the framed photo on his nightstand. Caroline smiling at the camera, holding baby Lucas, with Katie standing beside her making a silly face. They'd been so happy. He'd thought that kind of happiness only came once in a lifetime. Maybe he'd been wrong. Maybe there were different kinds of happiness, different ways to build a life after loss. He wasn't replacing Caroline. Nothing could replace her. But maybe, just maybe, there was room in his heart for something new. For someone who'd walked into his life by accident and brought light back into his children's eyes. For someone like Tasha. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of activity and slowly dissolving barriers. Tasha came to Katie's school concert and cheered louder than anyone when his daughter sang her solo. She helped them pick out and decorate a 12-foot Christmas tree, laughing when Lucas insisted every ornament had to go on the bottom 3 feet where he could reach. She joined them for dinner 3 times and each time felt more natural than the last. Benjamin found himself texting her about small things. Funny thing Lucas said. A problem Katie was having with a friend at school. Pictures of the thank you cards that arrived from the kids at the community center, each one decorated with careful drawings and heartfelt messages. Tasha responded to everything with genuine interest, never making him feel like he was bothering her. One evening, after the kids were in bed, Benjamin sat in his study nursing a glass of wine and scrolling through their text conversation. There were hundreds of messages now. Photos, jokes, questions, observations. When had this happened? When had Tasha become someone he wanted to talk to every day? His phone rang. Tasha's name on the screen made him smile before he even answered. Hey, he said. Everything okay? Better than okay. I just got off the phone with the landlord. Well, your representative, actually. The paperwork is finalized. The building is officially yours, and our new lease starts January 1st. Tasha's voice was thick with emotion. Benjamin, I still can't believe you did this. We had our staff meeting today and when I told everyone we were secure for the next 10 years, 3 people cried. Our program coordinator actually got down on her knees and said a prayer of thanksgiving. I'm glad I could help. Truly. Benjamin swirled the wine in his glass. Will you send me photos once you're settled? I'd like to see the space. Better idea. Come visit. See it for yourself. Meet the kids. Tasha paused. Unless that's weird. I don't want to make you uncomfortable. It's not weird. I like that. How about next Saturday? I could bring Katie and Lucas. They'd probably enjoy seeing what you do. That would be perfect. We have our Saturday program running from 10 to 2. Lunch is served at noon. You're all welcome to join us. We'll be there. Saturday arrived cold and bright, with a dusting of snow that had Lucas bouncing off the walls with excitement. The community center was located in a part of town Benjamin rarely visited, an area where buildings were older and streets were narrower. But as they pulled up to the address Tasha had given him, he saw what she'd been working to create. The building was a converted warehouse, brick and sturdy, with large windows that let in plenty of natural light. Someone had painted a mural on the side wall, children of all colors holding hands under a bright sun. The words Riverside Community Center, where every kid matters, were painted in bold letters above the door. Inside was controlled chaos. Kids everywhere, ranging from small elementary schoolers to teenagers who tried to look bored but were clearly engaged. There was a computer lab where a volunteer was teaching coding. A corner with bean bags and bookshelves where younger kids were reading. A basketball court where a pickup game was in full swing. The kitchen smelled like soup and fresh bread. Tasha spotted them immediately and hurried over, wearing jeans and a bright green t-shirt with the center's logo. Her hair was pulled back and she had paint on one sleeve from an art project. You made it, she said, her smile brilliant. Welcome to the center. Katie and Lucas looked around with wide eyes. This was different from their world of private schools and mansion bedrooms, but not in a bad way. Just different. This is amazing, Benjamin said honestly. How many kids do you serve on a typical Saturday? Usually about 40. Today we have 47 actually. More kids are home during winter break. Tasha knelt down to Katie and Lucas's level. Want to see what we have going on? We've got art, sports, games, computers, and we're making gingerbread houses in about an hour. Gingerbread houses? Lucas's eyes went huge. Can we help? Absolutely. Come on, I'll introduce you to some friends. Benjamin watched as Tasha led his children through the center, introducing them to other kids, showing them the different activity areas. His children were initially shy, but within 20 minutes Katie was sitting with a group of girls working on a giant puzzle, and Lucas was attempting to beat a teenager at video games. Your kids are great, said a voice beside him. Benjamin turned to see a young woman, probably mid-20s, with kind eyes and flower on her apron. I'm Jennifer, one of the staff members. You must be Benjamin Hayes. I am. It's nice to meet you. Tasha talks about you all the time. Well, not all the time. That would be weird. But enough that we all know who you are and what you did for us. Jennifer smiled. You saved this place. You saved these kids safe space. I hope you know how huge that is. Tasha did the hard work. I just helped with resources. Resources matter. But so does caring enough to use them for good. Jennifer glanced over at Tasha, who was now helping a small boy tie his shoe. She's special, you know. There aren't many people who dedicate their entire life to taking care of other people's kids. But Tasha, she sees something in every single child here. She makes them feel valued. I've noticed, Benjamin said quietly. Good. Just making sure you know what you've got there. If you're smart, you won't let her go. Jennifer walked away before Benjamin could ask what she meant by that. But he knew. He'd known since that first dinner at the gala, if he was honest with himself. Tasha Reynolds was extraordinary. And somewhere along the way, his gratitude and admiration had shifted into something deeper. The morning flew by. Benjamin found himself pulled into activities, teaching a computer class about business software at Tasha's request, helping referee the basketball game when it got too competitive, even assisting with the gingerbread house construction. The kids were polite but curious, asking him questions about his work and his family. Some of them knew Katie and Lucas from the photos Tasha had shown them. Lunch was served at long tables in what was clearly a multipurpose room. Simple food, soup and sandwiches and fruit, but plentiful and made with care. Kids sat wherever they wanted, mixing age groups naturally. Katie ended up between two teenagers who were helping her with her gingerbread house design. Lucas was deep in conversation with a boy about his age, showing him photos of their Christmas tree on Benjamin's phone. Benjamin sat beside Tasha, watching it all unfold. This is what you saved, Tasha said softly. This right here. These moments where kids get to just be kids. Where they're safe and fed and valued. Where they have adults who actually show up for them. She turned to look at him. I don't think I've properly thanked you. Not really. So thank you, Benjamin. From the bottom of my heart. You gave me the ability to keep my promise to these kids. You're welcome. But I should thank you too. For what? For showing me that there's still good in the world. For being patient with my kids. For being patient with me. Benjamin hesitated, then decided to just say it. For reminding me that life doesn't end when you lose someone. It changes, but it doesn't end. Tasha's eyes went soft. Benjamin? I'm not saying this to make things weird. I just want you to know that meeting you has mattered. To me and to my kids. Whatever this is, friendship or something else, it's important to us. It's important to me too, Tasha said. Your family has become really special to me in a very short time. When I'm with you guys, I feel like I belong somewhere. Like I'm not just the director of a community center or someone who's always giving to others. I'm just Tasha. And that's a gift you've given me. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, surrounded by the noise and laughter of children. Then Lucas came running over, his face covered in gingerbread crumbs. Dad, can we come back next Saturday? Please? I made a friend and he invited me to come back. Benjamin looked at Tasha, who nodded. Of course, buddy. We can make it a regular thing if you want. Yes. Lucas pumped his fist and ran back to his new friend. Katie appeared next, more composed but equally pleased. Tasha, can you teach me how to do that thing you were doing? Where you helped that girl with her math homework? Tutoring? Yeah. I want to help kids too. Like you do. Tasha's expression melted into pure warmth. I think that's a wonderful goal, Katie. We can definitely work on that together. After lunch, they helped clean up and said goodbye to what felt like 50 different kids. Everyone wanted to hug Tasha, to show Benjamin one more thing, to make Lucas promise he'd come back. By the time they left, It was almost 3 o'clock and Benjamin was exhausted in the best possible way. On the drive home, Katie said, "Dad, can Tasha come to Christmas dinner at Grandma's house?" Benjamin's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Christmas dinner was a family tradition. It was the one day that had always been sacred, the one day that still felt intensely connected to Caroline. Inviting Tasha would mean something. Would mean acknowledging that she was becoming part of their lives in a permanent way. "Would you want her there?" he asked carefully. "Yes. It's not fun without Mom, and Tasha makes things fun again. Not in a bad way. Just in a way that doesn't hurt as much." From the back seat, Lucas added, "Plus she might bring cookies." Benjamin laughed despite the emotion clogging his throat. "Okay, I'll ask her. But guys, Tasha might have her own family plans. She might not be able to come." "Then we'll be sad but understanding," Katie said with her characteristic seriousness. "But we should still ask." That evening, after the kids were in bed, Benjamin called Tasha instead of texting. She answered on the second ring. "Hey, did you all make it home okay?" "We did. Thank you for today." The kids haven't stopped talking about it. Benjamin sat on his bed, suddenly nervous. "Listen, I have a question. No pressure, and you can absolutely say no." "Okay, now I'm curious. My mother hosts Christmas dinner every year. It's the whole family, lots of noise and chaos. Katie and Lucas asked if you'd like to join us." Benjamin paused. "And I'd like you to be there too. If you want. If you don't have other plans." There was a long silence. Then, "Benjamin, are you sure? Christmas dinner is family. I don't want to intrude on something important." "You wouldn't be intruding. You'd be exactly where we want you." Benjamin took a breath. "The truth is, the last 2 Christmases have been really hard. We get through them, but they're painful. This year feels different. This year feels like maybe we can actually celebrate instead of just survive. And a big part of that is because you've been in our lives. So yes, I'm sure. Please come." "Then yes," Tasha said, her voice warm. "I'd love to come. Thank you for including me. Thank you for saying yes." They talked for another hour about nothing and everything. About their childhoods, their hopes, their fears. About what it meant to move forward while still honoring the past. By the time Benjamin hung up, it was past midnight and he felt lighter than he had in years. Christmas was 2 weeks away. 2 weeks until he introduced Tasha to his extended family. 2 weeks until he took the next step in whatever this was becoming. He wasn't scared. For the first time since Caroline died, he was genuinely excited about the future. What would you do if life gave you a second chance at happiness but you weren't sure you deserved it? Benjamin is learning that accepting help, accepting kindness, accepting love isn't weakness. It's courage. It's choosing to believe that joy can exist even after loss. If this story is touching your heart, please subscribe so you don't miss the beautiful moments still to come. Drop a comment and tell me, do you believe in second chances? The week before Christmas arrived with a flurry of activity. Benjamin's company was closing for the holidays, which meant he could spend more time at home with Katie and Lucas. They made the most of it, going ice skating, watching Christmas movies, and making more cookies with Tasha, who'd somehow become a permanent fixture in their daily lives. She came over almost every evening after work, never staying too late but always long enough to help with homework, read bedtime stories, or just talk with Benjamin after the kids were asleep. They'd fallen into an easy rhythm, comfortable and natural. If anyone had asked Benjamin to define their relationship, he wouldn't have been able to. They weren't dating. They weren't just friends. They were something in between, something undefined but deeply important. On Monday evening, 3 days before Christmas, Tasha arrived with shopping bags full of decorating supplies. "What's all this?" Benjamin asked, helping her carry everything inside. "Tree ornaments for the community center. The kids wanted to make homemade decorations, but we didn't have enough supplies. I went a little overboard at the craft store." Tasha grinned. "I thought maybe Katie and Lucas would want to help make some? We're decorating tomorrow evening. Can we, Dad?" Lucas bounced on his toes. "Please?" Benjamin looked at the sheer volume of supplies. Glitter, glue, construction paper, ribbon, beads, pipe cleaners. His house was about to become a craft explosion. "Sure. Why not? What's a little more chaos?" They spread everything out on the dining room table and got to work. Katie approached the project with her usual seriousness, carefully cutting paper snowflakes and following Tasha's instructions precisely. Lucas was more enthusiastic than skilled, creating ornaments that defied description but were made with complete commitment. Benjamin attempted to help but mostly just got glitter everywhere. "How do you get glitter out of carpet?" he asked at one point, staring at the sparkling mess on the floor. "You don't," Tasha said cheerfully. "Glitter is forever. It's the herpes of craft supplies. Benjamin laughed so hard he snorted, which made Katie and Lucas dissolve into giggles. Tasha looked pleased with herself. As they worked, Tasha told them stories about her own childhood Christmases. Most of them weren't happy stories. Foster homes that forgot to get her presents. A group home where they had a tree but no ornaments. A particularly bad year when she'd been moved to a new placement on Christmas Eve and spent the holiday with strangers who clearly didn't want her there. That's really sad, Katie said softly. It was, Tasha agreed. But it taught me something important. It taught me that family isn't just about biology. Family is about the people who show up for you, who care about you, who make space for you in their lives. She smiled at all three of them. You all have done that for me this year. You've made me feel like I belong. That's the best Christmas present I could ask for. Lucas climbed into Tasha's lap, getting glue on her green sweater. You do belong. You're our friend. Maybe even our family. Tasha hugged him tightly, her eyes bright with tears. Maybe so, Lucas. Maybe so. Benjamin watched this exchange with his heart in his throat. His son, who barely remembered his mother, was accepting Tasha into their lives without hesitation. Katie, who was usually so guarded, was sharing glitter and smiles. And him? He was falling in love with a woman he'd met by accident, who'd walked into his carefully controlled life and turned everything upside down in the best possible way. The realization should have scared him. Instead, it felt like relief. Later that night, after the kids were in bed and Tasha was packing up the finished ornaments, Benjamin made a decision. Will you go somewhere with me tomorrow? He asked. Just the two of us. There's something I want to show you. Tasha looked up, curious. Where? It's a surprise. Trust me? I do. The simple words carried weight. What time? Noon? I'll pick you up. The next day, Benjamin drove them to a cemetery about 20 minutes from his house. Tasha didn't ask questions as they walked through the neat rows of headstones, but he could feel her curiosity and her careful respect for wherever they were going. He stopped in front of a marble headstone with Caroline's name and dates etched in elegant script. Fresh flowers sat in a built-in vase, which meant his mother had been here recently. The stone was simple but beautiful, just like Caroline had been. I wanted you to meet my wife, Benjamin said quietly. Or at least I wanted to bring you here. To show you that you're important enough to share this part of my life with. Tasha stood beside him, her hand finding his. Tell me about her. So he did. Benjamin talked about how they'd met in college, how Caroline had been studying education and had dreams of changing the world one classroom at a time. How she'd had a laugh that could light up a room and a stubborn streak a mile wide. How she'd wanted 3 kids but they'd stopped at 2 because complications with Lucas's birth had made another pregnancy too risky. She was an amazing mother, Benjamin said. Patient in ways I'm not. Creative in ways I'm not. She made everything fun, even the boring stuff like grocery shopping or cleaning the house. The kids adored her. He paused, blinking back tears. When she died, I thought I died too. I thought the best part of my life was over and everything after would just be going through the motions. But it's not, Tasha said softly. No, it's not. And I think Caroline would be glad about that. Benjamin turned to face Tasha fully. I need you to understand something. I'm not looking for a replacement. Caroline was irreplaceable. But I'm starting to believe that hearts can expand, that you can honor what you lost while still being open to what you find. And I've found you, Tasha. My kids have found you. And I think... He stopped, gathering courage. I think Caroline would approve. Tasha had tears streaming down her face. Benjamin, I'm not trying to take her place. I know. You're not her. You. And that's exactly who I want. They stood there in the cold December air, holding hands in front of Caroline's grave. Benjamin felt a sense of peace he hadn't experienced in years. This was right. Bringing Tasha here, acknowledging that loving her didn't mean forgetting Caroline, accepting that life had given him a second chance at happiness. Thank you for bringing me here, Tasha said. For trusting me with this. Thank you for not running away when you realized how complicated my life is. Complicated is okay. Complicated means you're real, that you've lived, that you've loved deeply. I'll take complicated over simple any day. They left the cemetery with their hands still linked, the gesture feeling natural and right. Benjamin drove them back to town and stopped at a small cafe for lunch. As they sat across from each other with sandwiches and coffee, Benjamin realized they'd crossed a threshold. This was a date. An actual, intentional date. And it felt good. Tell me something about yourself that I don't know, Benjamin said. Something important. Tasha thought for a moment, stirring sugar into her coffee. I'm scared, she said finally. Of this. Of us. Of what I'm starting to feel. What are you starting to feel? Like I've been looking for a home my entire life, and I might have finally found one. She met his eyes. Your family, Benjamin. You and Katie and Lucas. When I'm with you, I don't feel like the foster kid who never quite belonged anywhere. I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And that terrifies me because what if I mess it up? What if I'm not good enough to be part of your world? Benjamin reached across the table and took her hand. You're not part of my world, Tasha. You're creating a new one with us. And as for being good enough, that's not even a question. You're exactly what we need. You're exactly what I need. I need you too, Tasha admitted. I need Katie and Lucas. I need the way you all make me feel valued and seen. I need the hope you've given me that family can be chosen, not just inherited. They finished lunch and spent the afternoon walking through downtown, looking at Christmas decorations and window displays. People smiled at them, probably seeing a happy couple enjoying the holiday season. And maybe that's what they were. Maybe it was that simple. That evening, true to her word, Tasha brought Katie and Lucas to the community center to help decorate the tree. It was a massive fir tree donated by a local nursery, standing at least 10 feet tall in the corner of the main room. Kids were everywhere, hanging ornaments, stringing popcorn, arguing about the proper placement of tinsel. Katie and Lucas jumped right in, showing off the ornaments they'd made the night before. Lucas's abstract creations were met with enthusiasm from the younger kids, while Katie's precise snowflakes were admired by the older ones. Benjamin helped hoist kids up to reach higher branches, his expensive sweater getting covered in pine needles and not caring one bit. At one point, he caught Tasha watching him with such tenderness that it took his breath away. She was standing by the doorway, clipboard in hand, coordinating the chaos. But her eyes were on him, soft and warm and full of something that looked a lot like love. Benjamin made his way over to her. Hi. Hi yourself. Tasha smiled. You're good with these kids, you know that? I'm learning. I have a good teacher. Benjamin Hayes, are you flirting with me in front of 47 children? Maybe. Is it working? Definitely. He wanted to kiss her. The urge was so strong it was almost overwhelming. But this wasn't the time or place. So instead, he just stood close, their shoulders touching, and watched his children help decorate a tree for kids who had so much less than they did. And he felt grateful. For this moment, for this woman, for the chance to make the world a little bit better. Later, as they were cleaning up, Jennifer pulled Benjamin aside. Can I show you something? She led him to a wall covered in children's artwork. Drawings of houses and families, some realistic, some fantastical. In the center was a new drawing, clearly fresh. It showed stick figures labeled Katie, Lucas, Dad, and Tasha, all holding hands under a big tree. The title at the top read, My New Family, and it was signed by a girl named Sophie. Sophie is 8, Jennifer explained. She's been in 3 foster homes this year. She's having a hard time believing that anything good is permanent. But when Katie talked to her today about feeling sad sometimes because her mom died, and how Tasha helped her feel better, something clicked for Sophie. She drew this and asked me to make sure you and Tasha both saw it. Benjamin stared at the picture, emotion clogging his throat. Can I take a photo of this? Of course. He snapped a picture and sent it to Tasha with a simple message. Look what we're building together. Her response came immediately. Everything worth having. That night, Benjamin lay in bed thinking about the day. About standing at Caroline's grave with Tasha beside him. About walking through town holding hands. About decorating a Christmas tree surrounded by kids who needed joy and hope just as much as his own children did. He thought about Sophie's drawing, about being labeled as someone's family even though they'd only just met. About how love and belonging could happen fast when the right people came together. And he thought about Christmas dinner in 2 days, where he'd introduce Tasha to his extended family. Where he'd make it clear that she wasn't just a friend or a charity case. She was the woman who'd helped his children heal. The woman who'd reminded him that life after loss could still be beautiful. The woman he was falling in love with. Benjamin picked up his phone and sent one more text. I'm really glad Rachel tricked me into that blind date. Tasha's response made him smile. Me too. Best $500 I never actually got paid. About that. Did Rachel ever compensate you? She tried. I refused. Some things are more valuable than money. Like what? Like finding your family. Benjamin set his phone down and closed his eyes, feeling more at peace than he had in 3 long years. Christmas was coming. And this year, for the first time since Caroline died, he was actually looking forward to it. Christmas Eve morning dawned clear and cold. Benjamin woke early, unable to sleep past 6 o'clock despite his best efforts. Today was the day he'd give Tasha the surprise he'd been planning for the past week. His stomach churned with nervous excitement as he showered and dressed. Katie and Lucas were still asleep, exhausted from the late-night Christmas Eve service they'd attended at their grandmother's church. Benjamin made coffee and sat in the kitchen watching the sun rise through the window. His phone buzzed with a text from his lawyer, confirming that all the paperwork was finalized and ready. Everything was set. At 9 o'clock his phone rang. Tasha. "Merry Christmas Eve," she said, her voice warm and a little sleepy. "Merry Christmas Eve to you too. Did I wake you?" "No, I've been up for an hour. Too excited to sleep." "Is it weird that I'm this excited about Christmas for the first time in decades?" "Not weird at all. The kids are excited too. Lucas has been checking under the tree every night to see if Santa came early." Benjamin paused. "Listen, can you come over around noon? Before we head to my mother's house for dinner. There's something I want to give you." "Benjamin, we agreed no expensive gifts. I can't afford to match whatever you're going to give me." "This isn't about matching. It's about giving you something you deserve. Please?" Tasha sighed, but he could hear the smile in her voice. "Fine. But I'm bringing you something too, and you're not allowed to complain about it. Deal?" Benjamin spent the next few hours making breakfast for the kids, helping them wrap the last few presents for their grandmother and aunt, and generally trying not to let his nerves show. Katie noticed anyway. "Dad, why are you so jumpy?" she asked, watching him spill coffee for the third time. "I'm giving Tasha something important today, and I'm not sure how she'll react." "Is it jewelry?" Lucas asked through a mouthful of pancake. "Girls like jewelry." "It's not jewelry. It's bigger than that." Benjamin sat down at the table with them. "How would you two feel if Tasha spent even more time with us? If she became a really permanent part of our lives?" Katie's eyes went wide. "You mean like a girlfriend?" "Maybe. Eventually. If she wants to be." "Does she know you like her like that?" Katie asked seriously. "I think so. But I want to make sure she knows she's important to us. That we want her around." Benjamin looked at both his children. "You two are okay with this? With me having feelings for someone who isn't your mom?" Lucas shrugged. "Mom's not here. Tasha is. And Tasha makes you happy. So yeah, I'm okay with it." Katie took longer to answer. Finally she said, "I'll always miss Mom. Always. But I don't want to be sad forever. Tasha helps us not be sad. So if you like her, that's okay. I like her too." Benjamin pulled both kids into a hug, overwhelmed with love for these small, resilient humans. "Thank you. That means everything to me." At noon exactly, Tasha's blue sedan pulled into the driveway. The kids ran to greet her, with Lucas throwing himself at her legs and Katie offering a more restrained but equally enthusiastic hug. Tasha was wearing a red sweater and jeans, her hair loose around her shoulders. She looked beautiful and nervous and exactly like someone Benjamin wanted in his life forever. "Merry Christmas Eve," she said, juggling a gift bag while returning the kids' hugs. "I brought presents." "You didn't have to do that," Benjamin said, but he was already smiling. "Too bad. I did anyway." They gathered in the living room, where the 12-foot Christmas tree sparkled with lights and ornaments. Tasha handed out her gifts, a coding book and puzzle for Katie, a Lego set for Lucas, and a small wrapped box for Benjamin. "Open it," she urged. Inside was a silver picture frame with a photo Benjamin had never seen before. It showed him, Katie, and Lucas at the community center, decorating the Christmas tree. They were laughing at something, their faces full of joy. The photo was candid and perfect. "Jennifer took it when you weren't looking," Tasha explained. "I thought you might like it." "It's perfect." Benjamin set it carefully on the side table, already knowing exactly where he'd display it in his study. "Thank you." "Your turn," Katie announced. "Give Tasha her present." Benjamin took a breath. This was it. "Actually, this requires a short drive. Do you trust me?" Tasha looked curious but game. "Always." They all piled into Benjamin's SUV and drove to the Riverside district. Tasha didn't ask questions, but Benjamin could see her confusion when he pulled up in front of the community center. "Why are we here?" she asked. "Come inside. There's something I need to show you." Benjamin used the key he had made and led them all into the building. It was quiet today, empty of children. Their footsteps echoed in the main room where they decorated the tree just days before. "Benjamin, what's going on?" He pulled an envelope from his jacket pocket. "This is the deed to this building. As you know, I bought it from your previous landlord so you'd have security and affordable rent." "Right." "Which I'm still incredibly grateful for." "Well, I've made a change." Benjamin handed her the envelope. "The building is yours now. Completely. No rent, no lease. It's in the community center's name, owned outright. You never have to worry about losing this place again. Tasha stared at the envelope like it might explode. What? Benjamin, no. That's too much. I can't accept that. Yes, you can. Please. Benjamin took her hands. Tasha, I've spent the last 3 years of my life being afraid. Afraid to feel anything, afraid to risk anything, afraid to let anyone close because I couldn't survive losing them. But you've shown me that fear is not the same as wisdom. That closing yourself off from pain means closing yourself off from joy too. Benjamin. Let me finish. You dedicate your entire life to helping kids who have nothing. You pour every dollar you make back into this place. You lose sleep worrying about funding and operations and making sure these children have what they need. You shouldn't have to do that. You should be able to focus on the work, on the kids, without constantly looking over your shoulder wondering if the building will be sold out from under you. Tasha's eyes were full of tears. This is too much. It's not nearly enough. But it's what I can do. Benjamin squeezed her hands. Accept it, Tasha. Let me help. Let me be part of what you're building here. For a long moment, Tasha just stared at him. Then she looked down at the envelope, at the deed that represented security and permanence and the ability to keep her promise to the kids she served. When she looked up again, tears were streaming down her face. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you so much. I accept. With so much gratitude. You have no idea what this means. I think I do. Tasha threw her arms around him, and Benjamin held her tightly, feeling her tears soak into his shoulder. Katie and Lucas joined the hug, creating a tangle of arms and emotion in the middle of the empty community center. This is the best present ever, Lucas declared. Even better than Legos. Everyone laughed, the sound echoing through the building. When they finally pulled apart, Tasha wiped her eyes and looked at Benjamin with something close to wonder. How do I thank you for this? She asked. Come to Christmas dinner tonight. Be part of our family celebration. Let my mother fuss over you and my sister take credit for bringing us together. Eat too much food and watch the kids open presents and just be with us. Benjamin paused. And maybe, if you're willing, think about being with us more permanently. Not just as a friend. As something more. Tasha's breath caught. Are you asking me to be your girlfriend in front of your children? I am. That's okay. If you want that too. I do want that. I've wanted that for weeks, but I was afraid to say anything. Tasha laughed through her tears. Yes. Yes, I'll be your girlfriend. Yes, I'll come to Christmas dinner. Yes to all of it. Benjamin kissed her then, a soft, sweet kiss that tasted like tears and hope. Katie made a gagging sound and Lucas said gross, but both kids were smiling. They locked up the building and drove to Benjamin's mother's house, arriving to find the Christmas Eve dinner in full swing. Benjamin's mother, Patricia, was a formidable woman in her 60s who ran her household with military precision. She took one look at Tasha and pulled her into a hug. You must be the famous Tasha we've been hearing so much about. Welcome, dear. Come in, come in. I hope you're hungry because I've made enough food to feed an army. Rachel was there too, along with her husband and 2 kids. When she saw Benjamin and Tasha walk in together, holding hands, Rachel's face lit up with triumph. I told you, she said smugly. I told you that blind date was a good idea. You manipulated us, Benjamin reminded her. And it worked. You're welcome. Rachel hugged them both. Seriously though, I'm glad you two found each other. You both deserve happiness. The evening was everything Christmas Eve should be. Too much food, too many people talking at once, kids running around hyped up on sugar and excitement. Benjamin's mother asked Tasha 1,000 questions about her work and her life, clearly determined to learn everything about this woman who'd captured her son's heart. Rachel's kids dragged Katie and Lucas off to play games in the den. And through it all, Benjamin kept Tasha close. His hand finding hers under the table. His eyes meeting hers across the crowded living room. Small touches and smiles that said everything without words. After dinner, they gathered around Patricia's equally enormous Christmas tree for the traditional reading of the Christmas story. It was something Caroline had started, reading from the Bible about Mary and Joseph and baby Jesus. Benjamin had dreaded this part for the past 2 years, always feeling Caroline's absence most acutely during this tradition. But this year, with Tasha sitting beside him and his children nestled close, it felt different. It felt like honoring the past while embracing the future. It felt like Caroline would approve. Patricia handed the Bible to Benjamin as she always did. He read the familiar verses, his voice steady. When he finished, he looked up to find everyone watching him with love and support. I want to say something, Benjamin said, setting the Bible aside. The last few years have been really hard. For me and for Katie and Lucas. We lost someone we loved deeply, and for a while it felt like we'd lost our way too. But this year is different. This year we found light again, and a big part of that light is Tasha. He turned to her, taking her hand. You walked into our lives by accident and changed everything. You reminded my children how to laugh. You reminded me how to hope. You showed all of us that family isn't just about who you're born to, but about who shows up and stays. So thank you, Tasha Reynolds. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for staying. Thank you for being exactly what we needed. Tasha was crying again, but she was smiling too. Thank you for letting me in. Thank you for taking a chance on someone who had nothing to offer except love and hope. You've all given me the family I've been looking for my entire life. Patricia was dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Rachel was openly sobbing. Even Rachel's husband, who prided himself on being tough, looked suspiciously misty. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of dessert and coffee and kids begging to open just one present early, a request that was firmly denied. Around 9 o'clock, Katie and Lucas started to fade, their excitement finally giving way to exhaustion. We should get these two home, Benjamin said. Santa can't come if they're still awake. They said their goodbyes, with Patricia extracting promises from Tasha to come back for Christmas dinner the next day. In the car, both kids fell asleep almost immediately, full of food and happiness. Benjamin drove through the quiet streets, Christmas lights twinkling in every window. Beside him, Tasha was quiet but content, her hand resting on his knee. Today was perfect, she said softly. It was. Thank you for being part of it. Thank you for inviting me. They pulled into Benjamin's driveway. He carried Lucas inside while Tasha helped Katie, both children barely waking long enough to change into pajamas and brush their teeth. After they were tucked in, Benjamin walked Tasha to her car. I don't want you to leave, he admitted. I don't want to leave either. But it's Christmas Eve and Santa needs to make his appearance. Tasha smiled. I'll see you tomorrow? Dinner is at noon. Come early though. The kids will want to show you all their presents. I'll be here at 10. Benjamin kissed her goodnight, a longer kiss this time, full of promise and possibility. When she drove away, he stood in the driveway watching her taillights disappear, feeling happier than he'd been in years. Inside, he found Katie standing at the top of the stairs in her pajamas. Dad? She called softly. I love Tasha. I really do. Is that okay? Benjamin climbed the stairs and pulled his daughter into a hug. It's more than okay, sweetheart. It's wonderful. I love her too. Mom would be okay with this, right? Your mom would be thrilled. She always wanted us to be happy. She'd love Tasha, I'm sure of it. Katie hugged him tighter. Good. Because I think Tasha might be my second mom. Is that allowed? Having multiple people love you is always allowed. Always. Benjamin kissed the top of her head. Now get some sleep. Santa's on his way. After Katie was back in bed, Benjamin spent 2 hours playing Santa, filling stockings and arranging presents under the tree. As he worked, he thought about how much had changed in such a short time. A month ago, he'd been going through the motions of life, doing his best but feeling hollow inside. Now he had purpose again. Hope again. Love again. All because his meddling sister had tricked him into a blind date with a woman who needed help and wasn't afraid to accept it. Benjamin sent one final text before going to bed. Merry Christmas, Tasha. I'm so grateful you walked into my life. Her response came immediately. Merry Christmas, Benjamin. Best accident that ever happened to me. As he climbed into bed, Benjamin felt a sense of peace settle over him. Tomorrow would be Christmas. The first Christmas in 3 years where joy wouldn't be mixed with overwhelming grief. The first Christmas where his children would wake up excited rather than sad. The first Christmas of his new life. And Tasha would be there for all of it. Christmas morning arrived with Lucas jumping on Benjamin's bed at 6:30 in the morning, screaming that Santa had come. Dad, 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 get up. There are presents everywhere. Santa brought everything I asked for. Benjamin groaned and pulled a pillow over his head. Lucas, it's too early. It's Christmas. It's never too early on Christmas. Katie appeared in the doorway, more composed but equally excited. Come on, Dad. We've been waiting for you. There was no fighting it. Benjamin dragged himself out of bed and followed his children downstairs, where the living room had indeed been transformed overnight. Presents spilled out from under the tree, stockings bulged with treats, and the cookies they'd left out for Santa were gone, replaced with a note written in Rachel's handwriting that said, Thanks for the cookies. Delicious. Love, Santa. For the next hour, paper flew and squeals of delight filled the house. Lucas got the remote control car he'd been begging for. Katie received the advanced art set she'd mentioned once in passing. There were books and games and clothes, Everything thoughtful and generous. Benjamin's phone buzzed with messages. His mother checking what time they'd arrive for dinner. Rachel sending photos of her own kids opening presents. And Tasha sending a simple message, "Merry Christmas. Thank you for yesterday. Still can't believe you gave me the building." He typed back, "Get used to accepting good things. See you at 10. Can't wait." The next 3 hours were spent in a whirlwind of activity. Breakfast, showers, getting dressed in their Christmas best. Katie wore a green velvet dress that had been Caroline's favorite. Lucas complained about his dress shirt but agreed to wear it when Benjamin promised he could take it off right after dinner. Benjamin himself put on a navy suit, wanting to look his best for Tasha. At exactly 10 o'clock her car pulled into the driveway. Katie and Lucas ran to meet her, both talking at once about their presents. Tasha listened to everything with genuine interest, admiring Lucas's new car and praising Katie's artistic plans. She was wearing a burgundy dress that made her look sophisticated and beautiful, her hair styled in soft curls. She carried a bag of presents, which she insisted on putting under the tree even though it was technically too late for Santa. "These are from me," she explained. "Not from Santa." The gifts were perfect and personal. For Katie, a journal with a beautiful leather cover and a note that said, "For all your important thoughts." For Lucas, a children's cookbook with easy recipes they could make together. And for Benjamin, a framed photo of the three of them at the community center, similar to the one she'd given him yesterday but showing a different moment. "I'm seeing a theme here," Benjamin said, smiling at the photo. "I like capturing memories, making them permanent." Tasha looked around at the Christmas chaos, the wrapping paper scattered everywhere, the kids playing with their new toys. "This is beautiful. A real family Christmas." "Our family Christmas," Benjamin corrected. "You're part of this now." They spent a leisurely morning at the house, drinking hot chocolate and watching the kids play. Around 11:30, they loaded up the car and drove to Patricia's house, which was already full of people. Extended family had arrived. Aunts, uncles, cousins, family friends. The house buzzed with noise and laughter. Patricia took over immediately, directing people to their seats, coordinating the meal service, making sure everyone had drinks. She seated Tasha between Benjamin and Katie, a deliberate placement that said volumes about her acceptance of this new relationship. Dinner was spectacular. Turkey and ham, dressing and gravy, sweet potatoes and green beans, rolls and cranberry sauce. Patricia had outdone herself and people ate until they couldn't move. Conversation flowed easily, with Tasha fitting into the chaos like she'd always been there. Several relatives asked how she and Benjamin had met, which led to Rachel telling the whole story about the blind date setup. Everyone laughed, and Rachel basked in the glory of her successful matchmaking. "I knew the moment I saw them together at the gala," Rachel said smugly. "There was something there. Chemistry." "I was angry at you," Benjamin reminded her. "You're welcome anyway." After dinner, they retired to Patricia's massive living room for presents. This was the extended family gift exchange, where names were drawn and everyone bought for one person. Benjamin had drawn his cousin's name and bought her a spa gift certificate. Tasha had been included in the exchange at Patricia's insistence, and she'd drawn Benjamin's uncle, buying him a book on woodworking that he seemed genuinely pleased with. When it was Tasha's turn to receive her gift, Patricia handed her an envelope. Inside was a framed family tree, beautifully illustrated, with the Hayes family going back 3 generations. At the bottom, in fresh ink, was a new branch with Tasha's name added. "Your family now," Patricia said simply. "We don't need to wait for a wedding or an official anything. You're important to my son and my grandchildren. That makes you important to me. Welcome to the Hayes family, Tasha Reynolds." Tasha stared at the family tree, tears streaming down her face. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll keep showing up. That's all family really means anyway." Patricia hugged her tightly. "We're glad you're here, dear." The afternoon passed in a pleasant haze of dessert and coffee and kids running around in sugar-induced chaos. At one point, Benjamin found himself alone with his mother in the kitchen, loading the dishwasher while everyone else was in the living room. "You're happy," Patricia said. "It wasn't a question." "I am. Happier than I've been in years." "Good. You deserve that. Caroline would want that for you." Patricia paused, carefully placing a plate in the rack. "I loved Caroline like a daughter. Losing her broke my heart. But watching you grieve for 3 years, watching you go through the motions of living without actually being alive, that broke my heart even more." "Mom? Let me finish. Tasha is wonderful. She's kind and genuine and clearly crazy about you and the kids. But more than that, she's brought you back to life. I see my son again when I look at you. The son who laughs and makes plans and believes in tomorrow. So yes, I like Tasha. But mostly, I love what you've become with her in your life. Benjamin hugged his mother, this strong woman who'd held their family together through the worst time imaginable. Thank you for accepting her. For making her feel welcome. She makes my grandchildren happy. She makes my son happy. That's all I need to know. As the day wore on, people started to leave. Relatives packed up leftovers and said their goodbyes. By 5 o'clock, only Benjamin's immediate family remained. Him, the kids, Patricia, Rachel's family, and Tasha. They settled in the den, where a fire crackled in the fireplace and soft Christmas music played in the background. Katie and Lucas were showing Tasha's kids how to play their new video games. Rachel and her husband were half asleep on the couch. Patricia was in her favorite chair, contentedly watching everyone. This was a perfect day, Patricia said softly. The kind of Christmas I'd hoped we could have again someday. It was, Benjamin agreed. He had Tasha tucked against his side, comfortable and right. Around 7 o'clock, Katie appeared in front of them with Lucas trailing behind. They were both holding something behind their backs, looking nervous and excited. We have something for you, Katie said to Tasha. For both of you really, but mostly for you. She pulled out a wrapped package and handed it to Tasha. The wrapping was clearly done by kids with too much tape and uneven edges. Tasha opened it carefully, revealing a large frame. Inside was a collage. Photos of Tasha with the kids over the past few weeks. At the community center, baking cookies, decorating the tree at the school concert. In the center was a drawing, clearly done by both Katie and Lucas, showing all four of them as a family. At the bottom, in Katie's careful handwriting, it said, "Our family. Before we had a mom. Then mom died and we were sad. Now we have Tasha and we're happy again. We love you." Tasha couldn't speak. She just held the frame and cried, happy tears that said everything words couldn't. "We wanted you to know you're important," Katie explained. "Not just to Dad. To us too. You're not replacing Mom. You're just being you. And we love you for it." "I love you too," Tasha managed. "Both of you. So much." Lucas climbed into her lap. "So you'll keep coming around, right? You won't leave." "I'm not going anywhere," Tasha promised. "I'll be here as long as you'll have me." "Forever then," Lucas said matter-of-factly. Benjamin watched this exchange with wonder. His children, who'd been so broken by loss, were openly accepting love into their lives again. They were choosing hope over fear, joy over grief. And it was all because of the woman sitting beside him, the woman who'd shown them all that second chances were real. That night, after they'd driven home and gotten the exhausted kids into bed, Benjamin walked Tasha to her car one more time. The night was clear and cold, stars bright overhead. "Thank you for today," Benjamin said. "For being part of our Christmas. For accepting my family and letting them love you. Thank you for including me. For making me feel like I belong." Tasha leaned against him. "I meant what I told the kids. I'm not going anywhere. This is where I want to be." "Good. Because I'm pretty sure I'm falling in love with you, Tasha Reynolds." She looked up at him, her eyes bright in the starlight. "I'm pretty sure I'm falling in love with you too, Benjamin Hayes." They kissed under the stars, a perfect ending to a perfect day. And when Tasha finally drove away, Benjamin stood in his driveway thinking about the future. About possibilities and promises and all the Christmases still to come. This was just the beginning. The best was yet to come. The week between Christmas and New Year's passed in a blur of contentment. Benjamin took time off work, spending lazy days at home with Katie and Lucas. Tasha came over almost every day, sometimes staying for dinner, sometimes just stopping by for an hour. They fell into an easy routine that felt like they'd been doing this for years rather than weeks. On New Year's Eve, Benjamin's mother hosted another gathering, but this one was quieter, just immediate family. They played board games, ate leftovers from Christmas, and watched the kids put on an impromptu talent show that featured more enthusiasm than actual talent. As midnight approached, everyone gathered in the living room to watch the ball drop on TV. Benjamin stood with Tasha, his arms around her waist, watching the countdown. When the clock struck 12, he kissed her as Katie and Lucas cheered and Patricia smiled knowingly. "Happy New Year," Benjamin whispered against her lips. "Happy New Year." It felt like a promise. A fresh start. A new beginning for all of them. January arrived with a return to routines. Benjamin went back to work, though he found himself leaving earlier than usual, eager to get home to his family. Katie and Lucas returned to school, but with a new lightness to them. They talked about Tasha constantly, making plans for weekend activities and asking when she'd visit next. One Saturday in mid-January, Tasha invited them all to a special event at the community center. It was a fundraiser talent show with all the kids performing various acts. Katie and Lucas had been secretly practicing their own performance, refusing to tell Benjamin what it was. The community center's multipurpose room was packed. Families filled every seat, and the excitement was palpable. Tasha stood at the front, welcoming everyone and explaining how the funds raised would go toward expanding their programs. The performances ranged from sweet to hilarious. A group of 6-year-olds did a dance that mostly involved them running in circles. 2 teenagers played a surprisingly good guitar duet. A girl recited a poem she'd written about hope and family. Then Katie and Lucas took the stage. They'd convinced Tasha to help them prepare a presentation about family and what it means. Katie spoke first, her voice clear and strong. My mom died 3 years ago. For a long time, me and my brother Lucas were really sad. Our dad was sad too, even though he tried to hide it. We thought we'd never be happy again. Lucas took over, reading from note cards. But then we met Tasha. She showed us that being sad about losing someone doesn't mean you can't also be happy about finding someone new. She taught us that family is about love, not just about blood. They alternated back and forth, telling their story. How Tasha had come into their lives. How she'd helped them remember how to laugh. How their dad had started smiling again. How they'd learned that accepting help and kindness wasn't weak, it was strong. We made something for Tasha, Katie said, because we wanted to show her how much she means to us. Lucas pulled out a large poster board covered in photos and drawings and messages. It was a visual representation of the past 2 months, showing how Tasha had become part of their family. At the bottom, in big letters, Katie had written, "Thank you for choosing us. We choose you too." Tasha was crying openly, not even trying to hide her tears. Benjamin's own eyes were burning as he watched his children publicly declare their love for this woman who'd saved them all. After the presentation, Katie and Lucas ran off stage and straight to Tasha, hugging her tightly. The entire room applauded, but Benjamin knew it wasn't just about the performance. It was about the truth they'd shared, the vulnerability they'd shown, the love they'd declared. After the talent show ended and families were mingling, Jennifer pulled Benjamin aside. "Your kids are remarkable." That presentation made half the room cry. "They're pretty special," Benjamin agreed, watching Katie and Lucas show other kids their poster. "So is Tasha. I hope you know that." "I do. Every single day I know how lucky I am." Jennifer smiled. "Good. Just making sure. She's been hurt before, you know. By people who promised things and didn't follow through. So if you're in this, really in this, that's wonderful. But if you're not sure, if you're still figuring things out, be honest with her. She deserves honesty." "I'm in this," Benjamin said firmly. "Completely. No doubts." "Then you should probably tell her that." That night, after they'd gotten home and the kids were in bed, Benjamin called Tasha. "That was an intense afternoon," she said when she answered. "Your kids made me cry in front of like 100 people." "Our kids," Benjamin corrected gently. "They think of you that way now. Is that okay?" There was a pause. Then softly, "It's more than okay. It's everything I've ever wanted. Can I come over? I know it's late, but there's something I need to say and I don't want to wait." "Of course. I'll be waiting." Benjamin drove to Tasha's apartment, a modest place in a middle-class neighborhood. He'd only been there once before when he picked her up for a dinner date the previous week. She met him at the door, wearing sweatpants and an old t-shirt, her hair pulled back, no makeup. She looked beautiful. They sat on her couch and Benjamin took her hands in his. "I love you," he said without preamble. "I'm in love with you. Not just grateful, not just fond of you. In love. The real, deep, permanent kind of love. The kind that makes me want to build a life with you." Tasha's breath caught. "Benjamin. Let me finish. I know this is fast. I know we've only known each other for 2 months. But I also know that sometimes you just know. Caroline taught me that. I knew I loved her after 3 weeks. I fought it at first because it seemed too soon, too intense. But she told me that love doesn't operate on a schedule. When it's right, it's right." "And this is right?" Tasha asked softly. "This is so right it scares me. But in a good way. In an exciting way. You make me want to take risks again. You make me believe in tomorrow." Benjamin squeezed her hands. "I love you, Tasha Reynolds. I love how you care for my children. I love how you've dedicated your life to helping others. I love your strength and your vulnerability and the way you laugh at my terrible jokes. I love all of you." Tasha was crying, tears streaming down her face. "I love you too. God, I love you so much. I've been terrified to say it because I didn't want to scare you away or move too fast. But I love you, Benjamin Hayes. I love your kindness and your heart and the way you show up for your kids. I love how you've accepted me into your life, how you've let me be part of your family. Benjamin pulled her close, holding her tight. So where do we go from here? Forward, Tasha said. Together. We go forward together. They sat like that for a long time, just holding each other, letting the weight of their confession settle. This was real. This was happening. They were building something beautiful out of loss and second chances. My lease is up in March, Tasha said eventually. I was planning to renew, but... Benjamin pulled back to look at her face. But if we're doing this, really doing this, maybe we should talk about next steps. About what we want this to look like long term. Benjamin's heart raced. Are you saying what I think you're saying? I'm saying that I'm tired of going home to an empty apartment every night. I'm saying that Katie and Lucas ask me almost daily when I'm going to move in with you. I'm saying that if you're ready, if you think the kids are ready, I'd like to be there. Permanently. As your partner. As their. She hesitated. As their second mom? Benjamin suggested gently. Is that presumptuous? It's perfect. They already think of you that way. So do I. Benjamin kissed her softly. Move in with us. Be with us. Let's be a real family officially. Tasha laughed through her tears. That's not a very romantic proposal. This isn't a proposal. This is a practical discussion about living arrangements. Benjamin grinned. The proposal will come later when I've had time to plan something properly. With a ring and everything. So you're planning to propose? Eventually. When the time is right. Is that okay? It's more than okay. It's perfect. Tasha kissed him, and this kiss was different. Deeper. Full of promise and possibility and a future they were building together. They talked for hours that night, making plans and dreaming dreams. Tasha would give notice on her apartment. They'd move her things gradually over the next 2 months, giving Katie and Lucas time to adjust. They'd tell Benjamin's family at Sunday dinner the next day. My mother is going to be insufferable, Benjamin warned. She'll immediately start planning a wedding. Let her, Tasha said, smiling. I've never had a mother figure plan anything for me. It sounds kind of nice. As Benjamin drove home in the early hours of the morning, he felt lighter than air. He just told the woman he loved that he loved her. She loved him back. They were going to build a life together. His children were going to have a mother figure again, someone who chose to love them, who showed up for them every single day. When he got home, he found Katie sitting on the stairs in her pajamas. Dad? Where were you? Benjamin sat down beside her. I was at Tasha's apartment. We were talking about the future. What kind of future? The kind where she moves in with us. Where she's here all the time, not just visiting. Would you like that? Katie's entire face lit up. Really? She's going to live here? If you and Lucas are okay with it, yes. We're totally okay with it. More than okay. This is the best news ever. Katie hugged him tightly. I'm so happy, Dad. For all of us. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. The next morning, Benjamin gathered his children in the kitchen over breakfast and told them officially. Lucas cheered and did a victory dance. Katie just smiled, that serene, knowing smile that said she'd seen this coming all along. When is she moving in? Lucas wanted to know. March. We're going to spend the next couple of months getting ready. We might need to rearrange some rooms, make space for her things. She can have the guest room, Katie suggested. Turn it into her office or something. She needs a space that's just hers. Benjamin was constantly amazed by his daughter's thoughtfulness. That's a great idea. We'll talk to her about it. That afternoon, they drove to Sunday dinner at Patricia's house. Before going inside, Benjamin pulled Tasha aside. Ready for this? Once we tell them there's no going back. My family will adopt you completely. I've never had a family adopt me before. I think I'm ready for it. Tasha squeezed his hand. Let's do this. They walked in together and Patricia immediately knew something was different. You two have news. I can see it on your faces. Rachel bounced over, ever nosy. What's going on? Tell us everything. Benjamin wrapped his arm around Tasha's waist. Tasha is moving in with us in March. We're going to be a family officially. The room erupted. Patricia cried and hugged them both. Rachel did an I told you so dance and claimed credit for everything. Rachel's husband rolled his eyes but smiled, clearly happy for them. The kids were excited to have Tasha around more. This calls for champagne, Patricia declared. We're celebrating. As they raised glasses to toast new beginnings and second chances, Benjamin looked around at his family. At his mother, who'd held them together through the worst times. At his sister, whose misguided matchmaking had somehow resulted in true love. At his children, who were laughing and happy for the first time in years. And at Tasha, who'd walked into their lives by accident and become the missing piece they'd needed. This was what happiness looked like. This was what love looked like. And he got to have it, to live it, to build on it for the rest of his life. Later that evening, after they'd returned home and the kids were in bed, Benjamin and Tasha sat on the couch in the den, planning their future. "I was thinking," Tasha said, "maybe we should get the kids involved in decorating that guest room for me. Let them help pick out colors or furniture. Make them feel like they're part of making this happen." "That's perfect. Katie will love that. And Lucas will probably pick the most ridiculous color imaginable." Benjamin laughed. "Probably. But we'll make it work." They talked about logistics. Combining finances, figuring out parenting styles, making sure the transition was smooth for everyone. They talked about the community center and how Tasha's new living situation would affect her work. They talked about everything except the one thing Benjamin was already planning. The proposal. He'd already called his jeweler. He'd already picked out a ring. He was just waiting for the right moment. Valentine's Day was too cliché. Her birthday was too obvious. He wanted something perfect, something that would surprise her but feel completely right. He had time. They had all the time in the world now. As Tasha dozed against his shoulder, Benjamin pulled out his phone and looked at the photo Katie and Lucas had made. "Our family," it said, with all four of them drawn in careful detail. They were right. They were a family. Not born that way but chosen. And that made it even more special. The next 2 months passed in a flurry of preparation and anticipation. Tasha gradually moved her belongings into Benjamin's house, each box and piece of furniture marking another step toward their new life together. Katie and Lucas helped enthusiastically, arguing cheerfully about where things should go and how the guest room should be decorated. True to form, Lucas lobbied hard for painting the room bright orange. Tasha gently steered him toward a warm golden color instead, which satisfied everyone. They filled the room with a desk for her work, bookshelves for her extensive collection, and a comfortable reading chair by the window. The kids insisted on adding personal touches: a framed photo of all four of them, a vase that Katie picked out, a small succulent plant that Lucas chose because it's cute and doesn't die easy. At work, Benjamin found himself smiling at random moments, getting teased by his assistant Patricia, a different Patricia than his mother, though equally perceptive. "You're disgustingly happy," she observed one Tuesday morning when she found him humming while reviewing contracts. "I am," he agreed without embarrassment. "It's good to see. You deserve this." By the first week of March, Tasha was officially moved in. Her lease had ended, her apartment was empty, and all her possessions were now integrated into the Hayes household. It felt natural and right, like she'd always been there. The community center was thriving under the security Benjamin had provided. Tasha had hired another full-time staff member and expanded their programs. They'd added a weekend homework help session and a cooking class for teenagers learning to live independently. Every time Benjamin visited, he saw the tangible impact of their work. Kids learning, growing, finding their place in the world. As Valentine's Day approached, Benjamin finalized his plan. He'd been carrying the engagement ring in his pocket for weeks, waiting for the perfect moment. He'd considered elaborate schemes: a surprise party, a romantic dinner at an expensive restaurant, a trip somewhere special. But then he realized that the perfect moment wouldn't be manufactured. It would happen naturally in the life they'd built together. On February 14th, Benjamin didn't do anything particularly special. He brought Tasha flowers as he did most weeks. They had dinner together as a family like they did every night. The kids gave her homemade Valentine's cards, decorated with stickers and glitter. It was ordinary and beautiful. That evening, after Katie and Lucas were in bed, Benjamin and Tasha sat in the den with mugs of hot chocolate. She was reading a book about childhood development, occasionally sharing interesting passages with him. He was supposedly reviewing a contract but mostly just watching her, marveling at how perfectly she fit into his life. "Tasha," he said finally, setting aside his laptop. She looked up, marking her place in the book. "Oh, I have something for you." "Benjamin, we agreed no expensive Valentine's gifts." "This isn't a gift." "Well, it is, but not for Valentine's Day." He pulled the small velvet box from his pocket, where it had been living for the past month. "This is for forever." Tasha's eyes went wide. "Is that what I think it is?" "Probably." Benjamin got down on one knee, feeling both nervous and completely certain. "Tasha Reynolds, I didn't plan this as some grand gesture because our whole relationship has been about ordinary moments becoming extraordinary. It's been about cookies and Christmas trees, about kids and laughter, about finding light after darkness. You've given me my life back. You've given my children joy again. You've shown all of us what love looks like when it's patient and kind and truly selfless. Tears were already streaming down Tasha's face. Benjamin, let me finish. I know we've only known each other for a few months. I know this is fast, but I also know that you're it for me. You're the person I want to wake up next to every morning. You're the person I want to raise my children with. You're the person I want to build a life with, not because you're replacing what I lost, but because you're creating something entirely new and beautiful. He opened the box, revealing a simple but elegant diamond ring. Tasha Reynolds, will you marry me? Will you be my wife, Katie and Lucas's second mom, and my partner in everything? Will you choose this family forever, the way we've already chosen you? Tasha was sobbing openly now. Yes. Oh my God, yes. 1,000 times yes. Benjamin slid the ring onto her finger and it fit perfectly. Of course it did. Everything about Tasha and this relationship was perfect. He stood and pulled her into his arms, kissing her deeply while she cried happy tears against his lips. I love you so much, she whispered. I can't believe this is real. It's real. We're real. This family is real. They heard a noise and turned to find Katie and Lucas peeking around the doorway, both in their pajamas. Did she say yes? Katie asked, barely containing her excitement. She said yes, Benjamin confirmed. Both kids ran into the room, throwing themselves at Tasha and Benjamin. They all ended up in a pile on the floor, laughing and crying and holding each other. Does this mean you're going to be our mom officially? Lucas asked, looking up at Tasha with hopeful eyes. If that's okay with you, Tasha said. It's totally okay. It's the best thing ever. Katie was quieter, more thoughtful. We'll always love our first mom. She'll always be important. Of course she will, Tasha said firmly. Your mom will always be a part of your family. I'm not replacing her. I'm just adding to what she started. Is that okay? Katie nodded, then hugged Tasha tightly. Welcome to our family. Officially. The next few weeks were a blur of wedding planning. Patricia took charge immediately as predicted and proved to be surprisingly good at it. Rachel offered to help with anything and everything, still riding high on her success as a matchmaker. Benjamin's extended family rallied around, offering venues and vendors and general excitement. They decided on a June wedding, small and intimate. Just family and close friends at Patricia's house, which had a beautiful backyard perfect for an outdoor ceremony. Nothing fancy or elaborate, just meaningful. Tasha asked Jennifer from the community center to be her maid of honor. She didn't have many close friends outside of work, another reminder of how isolated she'd been before meeting Benjamin's family. But Jennifer was thrilled, and the two of them spent hours looking at dresses and planning details. Katie and Lucas would be in the wedding too, playing special roles that Tasha designed just for them. Katie would carry a candle representing Caroline's memory, honoring the love that had come before. Lucas would carry rings because he'd begged for an important job and Benjamin couldn't say no. As spring progressed, Benjamin watched his future wife integrate even more deeply into their lives. She helped Katie with a difficult school project. She taught Lucas to ride a bike without training wheels. She coordinated with teachers and doctors and made sure everyone's needs were met. She wasn't trying to be Caroline. She was being Tasha, and that was exactly what they needed. One afternoon in late May, Benjamin came home early to find Tasha in the kitchen teaching Katie how to make Caroline's famous chocolate cake. His daughter had asked for the recipe, wanting to learn something her mother had loved to make. Benjamin stood in the doorway watching them work together. Tasha was patient and encouraging, letting Katie crack the eggs even though some shell ended up in the batter. They were laughing about something, flour dusted across both their faces. Mom used to make this for Dad's birthday every year, Katie was saying. Do you think we should make it for him this year? I think that would be really special, Tasha replied. Do you want it to be a surprise? Yeah. Can you help me? Of course. We'll make it together. Benjamin's eyes burned with tears. This was what healing looked like. His daughter honoring her mother's memory while building new traditions with Tasha. Both women existed in Katie's heart, not competing but complementing each other. He cleared his throat to announce his presence. Both Tasha and Katie turned, caught. You're home early, Tasha said. I wanted to see my family. Benjamin came into the kitchen, kissing Tasha's cheek and ruffling Katie's hair. What are you two making? Nothing, Katie said too quickly. Just cake. Just cake, huh? Just regular cake that has nothing to do with anything special happening soon. Katie grinned, chocolate on her chin. I'll pretend I believe you. That evening, over dinner, Tasha announced she had news. "I've been talking to the board at the community center, and they've approved a new program. We're going to start offering family counseling and support groups for kids dealing with grief and loss. Free of charge." "That's wonderful," Benjamin said, proud of her vision. "I was thinking maybe Katie and Lucas could help design some of the programming. They've been through this. They understand what kids need when they're hurting." Tasha looked at his children. "What do you think? Want to help other kids the way you've helped each other?" Both kids agreed enthusiastically. Over the next few weeks, they worked with Tasha to create activity guides and discussion topics, sharing their experiences and insights. Benjamin watched his children transform their pain into purpose, and he knew Caroline would be so proud. June arrived with perfect weather and clear skies. The wedding was planned for June 15th, a Saturday afternoon when the garden would be in full bloom. The week before, Tasha moved the last of her work things from the guest room into Benjamin's home office. They were officially, completely merged now. One household, one family. The night before the wedding, Tasha stayed with Jennifer per tradition. Benjamin lay in bed alone, his children sleeping down the hall, and thought about the journey that had brought him here. From devastating loss to unexpected love. From hopelessness to joy. From just surviving to actually living. He pulled out his phone and looked at old photos of Caroline. Beautiful, vibrant Caroline who'd given him so much. He hoped she knew he'd kept his promise to take care of their children. He hoped she understood that loving Tasha didn't diminish what they'd had. He hoped she approved. "Thank you," he whispered to her image. "Thank you for our time together. Thank you for our children. And thank you for loving me enough to want me to be happy, even after you were gone." His phone buzzed. A text from Tasha. "Can't sleep. Too excited to marry you tomorrow. Same here. I love you. I love you more. See you at the altar." The wedding day dawned bright and beautiful. Benjamin got dressed in his best suit, with Lucas helping him with his tie and Katie pinning a boutonniere to his lapel. They all drove to Patricia's house together, arriving to find the backyard transformed into something magical. White chairs sat in neat rows facing an archway covered in flowers. String lights hung overhead even though it was daytime, ready for the reception later. Tables were set with simple but elegant decorations. Everything was perfect. Guests arrived. Family, friends, co-workers, families from the community center. Everyone who mattered to both Benjamin and Tasha. The chairs filled up quickly and soft music started playing. Benjamin took his place at the altar with the officiant, his heart pounding. Lucas stood beside him holding the ring box, trying to look serious but unable to stop grinning. Katie waited at the back, ready for her special role. The music changed. Katie walked down the aisle carrying a lit candle, placing it carefully on a small table near the altar. She'd chosen this role herself, wanting to honor Caroline while celebrating Tasha. It was perfect and poignant and had Benjamin fighting tears before the bride even appeared. Then Tasha emerged from the house and Benjamin's breath caught. She wore a simple white dress that somehow made her look both elegant and approachable. Her hair was styled in soft curls, and she carried a bouquet of wildflowers. But more than her appearance, it was her expression that got him. She looked at Benjamin like he was her entire world, like everything she'd ever wanted was standing at the end of this aisle. Jennifer walked beside her, since Tasha had no father to give her away. But halfway down the aisle, Tasha stopped. She looked at Katie and Lucas, then held out her hands. "Will you walk me the rest of the way?" she asked his children. They didn't hesitate. Katie took one hand, Lucas the other, and together they escorted Tasha to the altar. It was unconventional and beautiful and exactly right. The ceremony was simple but meaningful. They exchanged vows they'd written themselves. Benjamin promised to honor both the woman Tasha was and the mother she was becoming. To support her work, to build a life of kindness and love, to never take her for granted. Tasha promised to care for his children as her own, to honor Caroline's memory while creating new traditions, to show up every day with patience and love. She promised to be a partner in everything, to face challenges together, to choose their family every single day. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, the backyard erupted in applause. Benjamin kissed his bride while their children cheered and Patricia cried happy tears and Rachel took about 1,000,000 photos. The reception was exactly what they'd wanted. Simple, joyful, full of love. They ate good food and danced to live music. Katie and Lucas gave speeches that had everyone in tears. Benjamin's mother welcomed Tasha officially into the Hayes family with a touching toast. Jennifer shared stories about Tasha's dedication to the kids at the community center. As the sun set and the string lights glowed overhead, Benjamin danced with his new wife under the stars. "How are you feeling, Mrs. Hayes?" he asked. Tasha smiled, radiant and happy. "Like I finally found where I belong. Like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." "We're exactly where we're supposed to be," Benjamin corrected. "All four of us." They looked over at Katie and Lucas, who were dancing with each other and making up ridiculous moves that had other kids joining in. Their children. Their family. "Did you ever imagine this when you walked into that gala?" Tasha asked. "Did you think you'd end up here?" "Not in a million years. I was so angry that night. So determined to leave as soon as possible." "What changed?" "You did. You changed everything." Benjamin kissed her softly. "I was so focused on what I'd lost that I almost missed what I was being offered. But you were patient. You showed up. You chose us every single day until I was ready to choose you back. It was worth the wait. It really was." Later that night, after the reception had ended and they'd thanked every guest, Benjamin and Tasha drove home with Katie and Lucas. The kids chattered excitedly about the wedding, about the cake, about the dancing. Normal kid stuff after an extraordinary day. Once they were all home, Benjamin and Tasha tucked the children into bed together. It was the first time they'd done it as an officially married couple, as an officially blended family. "Did you have fun today?" Tasha asked Katie, smoothing her blankets. "It was the best day ever. You looked so pretty." "Thank you, sweetheart." Lucas was already half asleep, but he mumbled, "You're our mom now, right?" "For real?" "For real," Tasha confirmed. "If you want me to be. We definitely want you to be." After the kids were asleep, Benjamin and Tasha stood in the hallway outside their rooms. "We did it," Benjamin said. "We really did it. We really did." Tasha leaned against him, tired but happy. "Think Caroline would approve?" "I know she would. She'd love you, Tasha. She'd love what you've done for our family." They went to their bedroom now, and got ready for bed. As they lay together in the darkness, Benjamin thought about the journey that had brought them here. From blind date to family. From grief to joy. From barely surviving to fully living. "Thank you," he whispered to Tasha. "For what?" "For accepting help when you needed it. For not refusing anything that was offered. For letting me be part of your life and your work. For loving my children. For loving me." "Thank you for offering," Tasha whispered back. "For seeing me. For choosing me. For giving me the family I'd been looking for my entire life." They fell asleep holding each other, at peace and hopeful and ready for whatever came next. 6 months later. The community center buzzed with activity on a Saturday afternoon in December, almost exactly 1 year after Benjamin and Tasha first met. The building was decorated for Christmas, with lights strung everywhere and a massive tree in the corner donated by the same nursery as last year. Benjamin stood in the doorway watching his wife coordinate a holiday party for the kids. Tasha moved through the chaos effortlessly, helping with crafts here, breaking up an argument there, making sure everyone had enough food. She wore jeans and a bright blue sweater, her hair pulled back, no makeup. She looked exactly like someone who belonged here, doing this work that mattered so much. Katie and Lucas were in the middle of it all, helping younger kids make ornaments and teaching them games. His children had transformed over the past year from sad and withdrawn to confident and joyful. They still missed Caroline, they always would, but they'd learned that missing someone and being happy could exist simultaneously. "Your family is beautiful," Jennifer said, appearing beside Benjamin with a cup of coffee. "They really are. Tasha told me she's pregnant." Benjamin's smile grew even wider. They'd found out 2 weeks ago, after months of trying. Tasha was only 8 weeks along, barely showing, but already so excited she could barely contain it. They were waiting to tell most people, but apparently Tasha had confided in Jennifer. "Don't tell her I told you," she told me, Jennifer added quickly. She wanted to make sure everything was okay before announcing publicly. "Your secret's safe with me. Baby." They were having a baby. Another child to love, to raise, to welcome into this family they'd built. Katie and Lucas were thrilled, already arguing about names and making plans to be the best big siblings ever. "You know what's amazing about your story?" Jennifer said. "You both could have said no. Benjamin could have walked out of that gala and never looked back. Tasha could have refused help because of pride. Either of you could have decided this was too complicated, too fast, too risky. But you didn't. You both chose hope. You both chose love. And look what you created." Benjamin looked around at the community center, at the kids laughing and playing, at his children helping others, at his wife making a difference in dozens of lives every single day. He thought about their house, now truly a home filled with love and laughter. He thought about the baby growing inside Tasha, the next chapter of their story. Jennifer was right. This had all happened because they'd both been brave enough to accept help, to accept love, to accept second chances. Because Tasha had agreed to that blind date despite needing the money. Because Benjamin had stayed despite his anger. Because they'd both chosen kindness and hope and love over fear and pride and isolation. It's a good story, Benjamin agreed. The best one I could have imagined. And it's just beginning. Tasha spotted him then and waved, gesturing him over. Benjamin crossed the room to his wife, pulling her into his arms and kissing her softly, not caring who saw. What was that for? She asked, smiling. For being you. For choosing us. For building this beautiful life. Back at you, Mr. Hayes. Katie and Lucas ran over, dragging them toward the craft table where apparently the ornaments needed parental supervision. As Benjamin sat down between his children with his wife across from him and a baby on the way, he felt overwhelming gratitude. 1 year ago, he'd been angry at his sister for tricking him into a blind date. Now he was married to the woman from that date, raising children who were happy and hopeful, preparing for a new baby, supporting work that mattered. All because he'd stayed for dinner. All because Tasha had been desperate enough to accept help. Sometimes the best things in life came from the moments that humbled you. Sometimes accepting help was the bravest thing you could do. Sometimes second chances really did exist. And sometimes, if you were very lucky, love found you exactly when you needed it most.